Well, welcome to the Gateway Mission Podcast. If this is your first time, man, we're glad you tuned in. If you've been here before, thanks for returning. My name is Steve Rusticus. I'm the Chief Operations Officer here at Gateway Mission. And we do this podcast for two reasons. One, we want to give you information about what we do, how we do it, and most significantly, why we do it, because that informs the other two things. And then we want to inspire you a bit. We want to tell you stories about how God is working in and through Gateway Mission to reach men, women, and children with the good news of Jesus Christ and to see their lives change from the inside out. We're in a series right now called Hope for the Homeless, and we are we're digging into some of the reasons why people are homeless. We're talking about why we do things the way we do. We've spent some time talking about Homelessness 101, about invisible and visible poverty, about what real help is, and you can listen to those podcasts if you want to. But this one in particular, we're talking about misguided compassion. We're talking about there's a way to be compassionate, but there is a way to be misguided. And when helping hurts, when we do things in a way that isn't helpful for the people that we minister to or we're trying to help. I'm joined by Greg. I'm glad Greg is here today. Greg is a guest advocate at our Gateway Men's Center. And I thought we'd start by asking Greg a little bit about sort of why he's here and why he does what he does. I'm glad you're here, man. Thanks.
Thank you. Good morning. Why am I here? I ask myself that often, to be completely honest. But what brought me here and what keeps me here, Steve, is when we talk about the homeless and we talk about showing compassion, and we think of the homeless community as this certain picture in our head, if I may say, the guy that's standing on the corner with the paper bag, swigging out of the bottle. That's not necessarily true. 6 years ago, I found myself, due to alcohol abuse, the classic story of the alcoholic who's going to try to hide it, to the alcoholic who doesn't think anybody knows he's drinking, but in fact, everybody knows he's drinking. And it got to the point to where I actually became homeless. I was asked/kicked out of my home because of the behavior, the terrible behavior that I didn't even realize that I was doing. And of course, I was the victim. It's your fault. It's your fault. And so I found myself homeless. And I had friends that would show me compassion. You can stay at my house, or you can do this. But it always ended up, I think it's time, maybe better find somewhere else to go. So long story short, I found myself in a hotel, the typical cheap, sleazy hotel. And I thought to myself, this has got to change. This is not working anymore. And I found myself in the homeless shelter here at Gateway. And I still remember walking in and thinking, I am that guy that's standing on the street corner, that's got the brown paper bag, swigging from the bottle. I am that guy. And for the first time in my life, I realized, okay, not only does it have to stop, I want it to stop. You talked about pain earlier, and you're right. Sometimes the pain of changing isn't as bad of the pain as where you're in, and so you're going to take the lesser of two evils. I took that pain, and I'm so glad I did. But to get back to your question, while I was at the mission, I stayed with a diverse community, guys out of prison, guys out of the hospital, out of mental institutions, different rehab programs. And I found myself sitting amongst these men. And I had a good job. I was married. I am still married. Wonderful kids, grown adult children. And I'm thinking, what am I doing? It struck me. But yet, as I settled down and I got to live in this wonderful community of homeless, I saw things that I never saw in people, ever. I remember guys that would sit there absolutely the old saying, you can't rub two nickels. They couldn't. They had no money at all. But he had a Butterfinger. I still remember the package. He had a Butterfinger, and he opened it up, and he took a bite. And he looked at the guy next to him who was in the same situation he was. And he looks at it, and I know he's thinking, man, I really like this. But you know what he did? Hey, man, you want half of it? That was one of the biggest lessons I ever learned in my life on how compassion can be shown at no matter what level. But I've also learned that in some ways, compassion does come with a sacrifice. And what are we willing to choose? The sacrifice or the easy way out as far as, hey, here's a couple bucks. You know, it's relational. And as I got into Gateway, one of the programs they have is called the Gateway Addictions and Discipleship Program. And I joined it. It was the worst thing I ever did in my life / the best thing I ever did in my life. And I learned a great deal. I learned about the creator of heaven and earth and whose image I am able to walk to be. And I can look up and I can hear my Savior, my God, saying, you are my beloved child. And after a year of hearing that every day, I started to get, because you're changed, you want to change. You want to give back. And I stuck with the mission, and I just started off as an intern. One of the ending things of the program was to serve an internship. And I was blessed to be in the Welcome Center, where that's the first place where the homeless come in the door. They come to the sliding window. The window slides open, and I don't care who it was, when it was always, I need help. And I was able to be the person that they expressed that to. I changed one addiction to another. The life-dominating sin became the life-dominating blessing. I went from entitlement to now I am empowered to help. And I can't get rid of it. I tried, but it's in me. And I can honestly say I will be involved in this until the day I die.
Yeah, so cool, man. Thanks for that. I mean, clearly your desire to walk with people comes out of personal experience and
Absolutely.
You know. So let's talk about that a little. Let's talk about what it looks like for you to do that as the guest advocate. What is that? Tell me a little bit about a guest advocate and what does it look like for you to walk with guys?
Well, first of all, it's a blessing.
Yeah.
And I always do the positive and the negative, and sometimes it's one of those to where I have a particular long drive home from the office, the mission, and my mind just recaps the day, and I evaluate and I criticize what I've done that day. And some days I can come home and I can pull in the driveway, honey, I'm home, which, by the way, I was able to regain my wife, reconciled. It's wonderful. But on the other hand, there's the other one to where my wife, Carolyn, Greg, you okay? You know? But what that looks like is sitting down, finding out, okay, what's your story? Because I have heard and I've seen time and time again, it's not necessarily what we can do for them. Look, I'll give you some personal hygiene products. You need shoes, I got shoes. 9 times out of 10, the thing they want the most, and here I go, I got to be careful. I said they, okay? I do not want to separate. But the people that I'm working with, what they want most often is they want to be heard. They want to be listened to. I have found that the homeless are so used to being ignored. I've seen it. You can walk down A Street and you can see some of our homeless guests that stay at the mission, and you can see the people walking toward them, and it's just the different reactions that you get is like, ooh, what do I do with this guy? He's not like me, you know? And so I want to let them know that this is a safe place, that you can tell me whatever you want to tell me. It's safe, and we're here together. I want to build, I don't want to say trust because that is so hard for them to do, but an openness because that is so easy. You want to let them talk, they will talk, and they will tell you things that just make me smile. And through that conversation, I often, because of my past experience, I'm shaking my head and I'm thinking in my head, that was me. Mm-hmm. That was me. And so again, that passion, that desire burns up to where, man, what can I do for you? Then we start the relationship of we're both on an even playing field here. You are no better than me. I am no better than you. We are both, hear me, my friend, we are both created in the image of God.
So it's not simply just, hey, we'll help you get a job and let's make sure you sign up for benefits, and that's part. I mean, that's part of the process. But it's like, okay, what's going on inside of you? Yeah. What's happening in here? Mm-hmm. How does the gospel and the good news of Jesus speak to that? I
want to start with them as far as let's talk about your guilt and your shame, because I know you're feeling it. I know you've lost something because of what you've done, because of your choice. You are feeling the consequences now of what you've done. Let's talk about that. How does that make you feel? And then when I hear about how bad they think they are, how they're not worth anything, no one ever told them they were going to work, and they were right, then I can say, let me introduce you to Jesus.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So actually, that's part of it. The consequences are a significant sort of catalyst.
Definitely.
To be able to. So if we help. So one of the things we talk about is, if we help everybody avoid the consequences, will they ever get to Jesus?
Steve, if I had a chance to avoid my consequences, which, trust me, at the time, I would have taken.
Sure.
I'll take that path. But because I couldn't avoid my consequences, and because of that, I would not be doing what I am doing today. My consequences, I now found, were blessings. Just kind of hidden. You just kind of had to unpeel the onion, you know what I mean?
Right.
Before you can finally get to it. And hopefully that's what I want to bring to the gentleman that I talked to. We're feeling this now. You're right. You messed that. That was a bad choice. Hello. That caused this. I still remember. First thing my dad ever told me, every action, there's a reaction. Mm-hmm. And we talk about that. We can't run from it, but we can walk through it. We can handle it. We can learn from it. In my case, I like to call it beauty from ashes.
Yeah, cool. Can you talk about like what that looks like for guys that are there? Maybe there's a specific story that you can think about of someone you've kind of walked in that with them.
I love those specific stories, by the way. That's what keeps me coming every day. It looks different. It's amazing how different it looks for different people. You usually can get a feel within the first 3 to 5 minutes. Okay. Where do I want to go? How do I want to approach this? But you can be fooled. There was a gentleman not too long ago that I actually thought to myself, oh boy, his 14 days, the open door program, is probably all he's going to get. But I challenged him after his, I want to say it was his 5th visit at the mission throughout a number of years. And it was always the same thing. Stay a few days, leave, come back. I'm really sorry. Stay a few days. And so after the 5th time, excuse me, oh no, here he comes, okay? But we sat down and he seemed the same but different. But we just started talking and I actually got a sense that he was tired of the revolving door. He was tired of that type of life. And so instead of reminding him, okay, this is your 5th stay, blah, 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 I started to encourage him. Aren't you tired of this? I'm hearing that you are. Let's talk about how this can change. And of course, then you hear, well, I can't do anything. I found out that, I mentioned it before, the empowerment that we can give people. I kind of believe that before I can make this person listen to me, he's got to be right this way. He's got to have what he needs, but mostly he needs to know he's worth something. Then we can go this way. Okay. And so I'm working on this, and I could tell he was getting a little excited. So I presented the Pathway program to him, which is a money management accountability. You get a job. We're going to go over your finances. We're going to budget your money. Steve, we struggled at first. He way overspent. He did this. He did that. No, this is not how we do it. You can do this. And we just set small goals. Long story short, 116 days later, he left to go back home to Kentucky with his family, being reconciled. As we speak, he's probably on his FedEx route with the job that he got, but he left with over $8,000.
Wow.
That's why I do what I do.
Yeah. That's a great story. And I love the fact it took 116
days.
So it doesn't happen overnight, and
No.
It doesn't happen just because we gave him a blanket and a meal and a cot,
No,
a bed to sleep in.
We had to present to him, we can give you a blanket, but what are you going to do for the rest of your life?
Right.
Once I give you that blanket, it's the old cliche, teach somebody how to fish, and they'll be able to eat.
Yeah.
It's basically what we're doing.
Well, thanks for doing that, man. And I know that you're impacting lives in a unique way.
They impact me.
And that's a cool thing. Hey, thanks for listening. We're glad you're here. If you want to tap in any resources or find out more about the Gateway Mission, you can go to hopefoundhere.org. And if you want something on the podcast, maybe there's a resource, just /podcast. And we hope you'll listen again. Until next time.